So that's a perfect kind of segue in, because I think what's really important is, once you get through that appointment, immediately you have relief and value. You're like, okay, I quickly hit a button, I recorded it, I've got the clarity, I have action items, I've shared it with my family. That's so easy. We want to provide you value immediately. We want to be able to get you through those conversations in the beginning phase. Then we want you to be able to see and visualize your support network. Who do I have around me? What does that look like? How can they help? What's some of the ways that there's meaningful connection between us? And then the next piece is, a lot of times you want to be able to track progress, because you are going to have ongoing support. You're going to have a healing journey, or in many cases, if it's a chronic condition or if it's someone living with a medical complexity, that doesn't get easier, that doesn't go away. And a really powerful place is the journal, which I know most people have often thought about journaling as very youthful, right? Something that we all did as a child. Um, but it is also something, and I think there's something to be learned about children. They're very free and pure, and they're curious, and we need more of that coming into adulthood, through life, period. I hope one day when the time comes, I will have the chance to have lived a full life, but I never want to lose my youth. Like, I want to die later in life, but I still want to die young. I always want to keep that fire and that spark alive. And with journaling, there's a perception that it can be time intensive. And sometimes people think, I have a lot of emotions, I'm not sure I want to sit with them, or I don't really want to think about what's going on. It's a little taxing to me and I'd rather avoid it, or, I don't know what I'm going to get out of this. But there's so much research around how valuable it is to be able to have self-awareness, to be able to, regulate your emotions. And journaling really provides a safe space for that. It allows people to kind of explore how they're feeling, what's happening, any behaviors, any observations. And all of those things, when you look at those, any sort of data information over time, the trends that it exposes, the insight it gives you, it's so powerful. Not only are you reducing, in many cases, the stress and anxiety of just writing down how you're feeling and the worries and the frustrations, but it also gives you this ability to be able to pick up on trends, to be able to see patterns that can be so valuable in terms of how do you get ahead of something. When someone's feeling great, you can kind of see on this calendar here, this is just looking at sentiment. So you can see when you go in, sentiment over time is just, you come in and you say, how am I feeling today? What are some of the emotions that I'm feeling? What's happening in life? Where's my energy at? How much time did I actually get to spend on myself? And this might be me, right, as the daughter, Arthur's daughter. And then I'm thinking about, okay, well, what did I do today? What are some of the events and ways that I've helped my dad? And you can kind of indicate them here, and then you can also track what that looks like. And you can adjust this, because a lot of times it's not the same every day. And the beauty of this is, this helps you see, okay, what's going on here? Why was Tuesday good and Friday not good? And you go in and you're like, okay, it's not every day is easy, but today was exceptionally hard. Dad's really getting frustrated at everything. He really didn't want to take his meds or eat anything. And he just wasn't willing to cooperate when we had a care conversation at home. And so it was such a frustrating day for me, and that emotion was compounding, that I needed to find a way to process it. And so this is powerful, because if you were to see, a week where someone's doing well, you want to be able to understand, well, what happened that week? Because you want to be able to repeat that. You want to know, did they feel supported? Where were they spending their time? Did they get some time to themselves? Was their wellness complete? And the same goes for if you have a week where someone maybe has poor sentiment. It's really important to know, okay, maybe there's an area or a space where they were spending their time that week that the community, their support network, can step in and help. Maybe there was some gap of care that was happening, that you can provide a recommendation and say, okay, have you considered this service? Or, have you considered talking and meeting with this person or trying this tool? So being able to spot those trends in health and how someone feels, in their well-being, I mean, that's so powerful. Those are subtle shifts that when you're so overwhelmed and stressed, they often go unnoticed. And if you don't have that information, you can't really make, right? You're missing out on informed decisions, and you're missing out on the ability to intervene faster. And we had a family recently, and her mom had had surgery, came home. We've been working with this family for a while, and they've been tracking and they've been putting critical notes in. They were capturing the conversation. It was a couple days after, maybe 4 days after, and I get a message and they're saying, I don't know what's happening. I'm not sure who to talk to, but my mom has been so confused, and I'm wondering if, maybe there's something else happening. Maybe there's Alzheimer's, and they immediately, right, jump to this negative space of it could be this other condition, which I think is very natural. It's a natural emotional response. And I also think there's so many different, so much information out there that you're often trying to understand, like, okay, what is this? What could it be? Like you're constantly mapping, right? And I'd said, well, have you considered journaling? Have you thought about maybe just tracking every day? How is she feeling? How are you feeling? What are you each doing? What are you observing? We make it super easy to go through in less than a minute in this journal. You can also use the same recording. You tap a button and you can start recording and speak into it with observations. Today I noticed mom was walking, her gait was great, she was in great spirits, we had a conversation, X, Y, and Z. So you don't always need to do the written prompts, you can do the audio, whatever makes, whatever feels the best for you. But in any case, they ended up journaling, and a week later, they looked and they realized that when the confusion started and when it kind of continued to escalate was right after the surgery. And the surgery had introduced a new medication, and the doctors weren't necessarily talking, and so they didn't realize that she was on different medication that would have an interaction. And so this illuminated that, hey, this started after surgery, a new medication was introduced, maybe we should flag this and talk to the doctor and see what's going on. So they're able to go and have a conversation with their care and support network and learn that there's not another condition at hand. Her mom's in great health, cognitively. It just happened to be a medication shift. But they found it because they were able to spend less than a minute a day just going through and journaling. So it's really powerful.